Siomra
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Collecting Issues, where this week we'll be taking a look at the Immortal Hulk Volume 1, or Is He Both, by Al Ewing and Joe Bennett, collecting issues 1 to 5 of the 2018 Marvel series, and some material from Avengers number 684.
That was your best one yet. You've nailed it. It only took 10 issues, but you've bloody nailed it.
But he did it.
Benjamin. This comic book is here in my hand. It's as floppy as all get out. It's one of the least substantial collecting issues we've done so far.
There's no meat on that bone,
There's
Michael.
very few meat on this bone. It is a mere 5 issues.
A scrap of a book.
Now, the book we reviewed last week, bloody what's it called?
Bloody Headlopper.
Headlopper.
Now
Also only 5 issues.
But
that
prime
was
rib.
A meaty tome.
Yeah.
This is 5 relatively insubstantial comics thrown together. Is that a complaint, Ben? Am I registering a complaint here?
I don't ever really like Marvel's graphic novel policies. I think they're a bit stingy. I think they like to drag out as many trade paperbacks as possible.
Right.
If someone were to break into the tiny room, Michael, I know that I would be reaching for Headlopper to defend it, not the Immortal Hulk.
I would probably use the absolute authority.
Wait, the listeners didn't know that was.
They didn't know that was
there. But anyway, Michael, this week we've decided that we're going to review the Immortal Hulk. You and I have waxed lyrical about this comic several times.
Al, you and I.
See what he did there, ladies and gentlemen.
The writer.
Yes, I guess that's it for me, Michael. But anyway, we've waxed lyrical about this book on several occasions. First of all, some beautiful bloody cover art by our favourite artist, Alex Ross. Well, one of our favourite artists.
Yeah.
Alex Ross. Some amazing, amazing things. A complete rebrand for the character, I suppose, in light of... In a world, Michael, in a world where all the comic book characters are being rebranded to be closer to their MCU counterparts.
Yes.
We have this bloody book, which has gone the opposite direction, Michael.
Exactly the opposite direction.
Sprinted away.
Yeah. I mean, if you were a fan of your Mark Ruffalo bumbling scientist, big jolly green Hulk, who's there to help out, and he's a bit angry, but it's a good angry.
You're not getting that.
You're not getting that here, Ben. This is horror. This is a pure horror comic.
Yeah, it absolutely is. I mean, the Hulk is a staple of Marvel. He's just so quintessential.
Well, Ben, I think we're going to end up talking about Al Ewing's own interpretation of the Hulk. But why don't you get the ball rolling, Ben?
Get the ball rolling.
With a very simple, and we'll keep it simple because everybody bloody knows. But who even is the Hulk anyway, Ben?
The Hulk is Bruce Banner.
Robert Bruce Banner.
Robert Bruce Banner, if you're into really, really specifics, which you are, Michael. You're a fan of a specific.
But Bruce Banner.
The original thing the original Incredible Hulk was published. It was the Incredible Hulk, not the Immortal Hulk.
No, it's
the Incredible Hulk was published in May 1962.
So long ago.
By none other than the dream team of Marvel.
Yeah.
Stan Lee.
Yeah.
Jack Kirby.
Yeah.
Steve Ditko.
Yeah.
And it's bloody great, Michael.
All 3 of them.
Bloody great. All 3 of them working together. Now, did bloody Steve get a credit?
Did Stan Lee do anything?
Probably not. Probably not. Oh, wouldn't it be great if we had a big green guy? And Jack and Steve are going, yeah, Stan.
We'll do a green guy.
Okay, Stan, we'll do a green. Yeah, make him green. Make him green. It's like, green's a weird colour. It costs money to print. Make him grey. Make him grey. I like that in my retelling of Stan Lee's early life and career, he's possibly senile.
Yeah.
But yes, look. Anyway, in the original, very different from the Hulk we all know and love in comic books today.
He's a real Jekyll and Hyde situation.
He's a real Jekyll and Hyde situation. In fact, some would say that Stan Lee directly ripped it off and just added a bit of atomic energy because it was the 60s.
Mm-hmm.
And that was hip and relevant then. Because all of Stan Lee's superheroes were radioactive in some form.
Pretty much, yeah.
And that's exactly what happened here. One of the things, I suppose, that you can look at in the Hulk thing is it's much more of a horror comic book in its original incarnation. The Hulk is something to be feared. It's this beast that kind of emerges only at night. Only at night. Much, much later, Michael, in the Hulk that we all know and love, he became the rage machine. And he would transform whenever he was stressed or angry or upset. But initially, the nighttime, Michael, was his time.
Was the right time.
Well, that's just for us when we're not doing the podcast.
Oh, very good.
Generally speaking, that's what he was. He was a big scary monster that people feared and hated.
And he came out at night.
And he came out at night. The nighttime was his time. And Michael,
yes,
my succinct little summary of that character greatly influenced the writer of this new series, The Immortal Hulk. Al Ewing has a wonderful section at the back of this little collected issue.
Al Ewing, Ben, Surprise Englishman.
Surprise Englishman, he got us. We've been lauding this comic for a while, and we've been like, that's great to see it in American comics. It's not an American comic, Michael. It's not an American comic at all. It's an American publishing house.
And an American character.
And an American character. But get fucked, Michael. It's not that at all. What it is a bloody British writer and a Brazilian comic book artist working together to make just this great little series. And there's a wonderful section at the back of the book where Al Ewing describes his love of the Hulk, I suppose, his joy of writing the character. And he talks about a nice little anecdote where he found a collected issue of the original Hulk run.
Collecting issues 1 to 6.
Collecting issues 1 to 6 of the original Hulk. And on the cover, he was fascinated by the design of the thing, in which you have a huge question mark. Is he man? Is he monster? And then right there at the bottom.
Or is he both?
Exactly. And we can see that this is a true love story to the original Hulk throughout the whole series. So it's very different from the Hulk we've come before, because there's very little goodness in this one. He's amoral? Bordering on
bad. Like he's out for people. Like he kills bad people.
Yes.
He's the Dexter of comic books.
He's an instrument of vengeance in some form.
Yeah. He's out for revenge, and he seems to be through coincidence or awareness drawn to gamma related bad people.
You can sniff him out, Michael. Sniff him out. Has a very sensitive nose for gamma.
He has a very sensitive nose, and also there are a couple of little nods, like when Bruce Banner was half asleep coming into a town on the bus, the Hulk subconsciously noticed a flash of green gamma light.
Yeah.
But Bruce didn't notice it, but the Hulk did notice it. So the Hulk kind of led him then subconsciously towards what he needed to do.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really interesting to see this Hulk. This Hulk is very protective of Bruce Banner.
Yeah.
We've seen a number of different dynamics between the Hulk and Bruce Banner in the past. You're a monster, stay away from me, I hate you, blah, blah. The Hulk hates Bruce Banner, this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And we've seen it in the Marvel Universe, the MCU, that they get on really well. They've kind of formed a bond.
They've merged.
And they've merged into one person by the end. But this one is very much... they lean very heavily into Bruce Banner's traumatic childhood in this. And it would seem that the Hulk is kind of a beast that looks after Bruce Banner or gets revenge if Bruce Banner's slighted. You'll see it often as we go through each issue here, where he'll say, you hurt Banner and now I hurt you.
Yeah.
Because now the Hulk only comes out when Bruce Banner's been murdered.
Or nighttime.
But it's very rarely, he usually goes off and does it himself. He'll kill himself to get the Hulk out faster.
Did we see
There's
that in
one
this?
scene in issue 3 in the diner where he slips out with a knife. And the implication is that
what he did?
Yeah, he slips a knife under the table and he goes outside. And the implication is that he tops himself to let the Hulk out.
I did not pick up on that, Ben. I thought he got the knife to go and stab those baddies.
No, it's a really destructive pattern of transformation this time.
Much, yeah.
Yeah, and it's nothing to do with... it's not very voluntary. It's really aggressive. Like It is a horror comic beyond anything else, and it's really interesting to read that new relationship. I am absolutely in love with it, Michael. Unabashedly adore this comic. I think it's bloody great. We said, Michael, because it's such a slender collection,
slender a slender man.
We might do an issue by issue on this one, which is
issue
different from our regular collecting.
Let's do an issue by issue then. Okay, we'll talk about issue 1 then. Issue 1, Ben. Let's break it down. We'll call issue 1 the gas station issue. I know it has a name.
I think it's called the gas station.
Is it?
I'm almost certain.
You spin your wheels while I check that.
Anyway, it's a moral tale. We feature, and it's a reintroduction to the characters. So as we always know, the debut issue is exceptionally important.
Yes.
Because it introduces the new tone of the comic and stuff like that. And we come across a young, I guess you call him mugger, hold-up artist. I don't know what you call him. Robber. And this robber...
I think issue 1 is called Or Is He Both?
Or Is He Both?
As well as the collected series is
Fair
called
enough.
Or Is He Both?
And he robs a gas station. And who's in the gas station but a young 12-year-old girl, another lady, the attendant, and Bruce Banner.
Bruce Banner.
In the classic Marvel disguise of a baseball cap and a hoodie.
Yeah.
And he is... anyway, it all goes a bit sour. This young robber gets very nervous, jumps the gun, literally, and shoots a bunch of people, including Bruce Banner. And then he goes back to the people who are twisting his arm to take the money. And then what he doesn't realise is the night time is his time.
Yeah, because
the Hulk hunts him down.
Comes back and smashes him. Doesn't kill him, though.
Doesn't punishes him eternally, because he mentions that he has a little daughter. And he says, "Oh, do you now?"
He doesn't kill anyone though.
Does he not?
He doesn't kill any of the biker gang either.
He just fractures them.
He
to
fractures
bits.
them and beats them up. But I specifically stated that none of them are killed,
Weird.
which is a little bit odd.
Because that tone shifts.
You think he's going to bloody eat them or something?
I thought he was. I thought he did.
You think he's going to murderize them all, but he doesn't murderize them. He just beats them up within an inch of their lives.
Just gives them an old pulping.
Ben, thank you very much for your succinct summary of that comic.
You're welcome.
I don't think it really expressed the horror of it, though. The horror of seeing a 12-year-old girl getting shot in the...
Oh, and it's very
in the
graphic.
chest.
Yeah. Well, you asked for a summary.
Yeah, no, I know. I'm not criticizing you. I'm just saying it doesn't tell us a lot about the horror. The atmosphere, the colours, Ben. There's a colour palette to this.
I love colour palettes.
It's quite a dark colour palette.
You saucy minx. Look at you just segue into that colour palette.
Just straight into it.
Oh, goodness.
Go on, do you want to talk about the colours?
All worked up.
Talk about the colours.
Exclusively green and purple, Michael. There's green and purple hues throughout.
Yeah, and it's the night time.
Because it's the traditional palette of this thing. The art here, Michael, initially when I picked it up in single issue form, didn't like the art, Michael, and it's grown on me massively.
Like the Hulk.
So suited to this style.
Something you said to me, Ben, a year ago was how he never seems to fit into the panels.
He's oversized.
Yeah.
You really understand the monstrosity of the Hulk in this. Because very often, depending on who draws him, he's just a big muscly man.
Yeah, he's just a big, muscly, handsome guy.
He's very often has a very nice jaw.
Yeah.
This thing is hideous. He's like a Neanderthal or something deformed.
He's got a big brow.
He's got that classic heavy Hulk brow that was in the original comics.
And he's all hunched over to fit in the panels.
Yeah, and he's just trying to keep his frame tight. One of the unusual things that you see in some Hulk comics is he stands very straight and very erect. Whereas this, he's much more bestial. He's hunched over
apey,
and he kind of... Apey would be a perfect word for it. It's a really fascinating use of colour and nighttime hues and blood and violence. This, issue 1 of this, is Edgar Allan Poe to a T. It's something akin to the Telltale Heart, where a character has done something morally wrong and they are suffering as a result. Retribution is coming to them in some form of usually guilt or anxiety or a supernatural force that's ticking along. And we don't see the full Hulk until towards the end of the issue. We're given glimpses of the fact that the Hulk might be around, but it's mostly Bruce Banner being murdered and then a lot of exposition telling us that what's going to happen and stuff like that. But the tension is very well built, Michael, in issue 1.
It's interesting you've said there, Ben, about someone doing something morally wrong and then being haunted by their choice and then that choice coming back to get them.
Yeah.
Because that is a summary of issue 2.
Yes, it is. Very good. Very good, Michael. Would you like to...
Well, I talk about issue 2?
If you'd like.
Issue 2, Ben, is my favourite issue.
I thought it might be, Michael.
It's a very good issue. Brucey B. Bob Bruce B. BBB. Triple B finds himself in the town. And he doesn't really know why he's in the town, but someone else knows why. The bloody Hulk, he knows why. He knows bloody sent him there subconsciously.
Bloody subconscious shifting.
And he finds in the town, Ben, that people are dying. And people are dying from some sort of grief
plague.
Michael.
Yeah. Plague of grief.
A plague of grief. And Robert Bruce Banner realises that it all started when a high school footballer died.
Fry.
So he goes to the grave, and he, using his powers of being a gamma monster, realizes that there's gamma coming from the grave. So
in
people,
massive amounts,
Ben. They're not dying of grief. They're dying of Romkins, like in the TV show Chernobyl. No, they've got radiation poisoning. Oh. There's the walking dead.
Oh no!
They don't realize they're dead, but they're dead.
Is it walking ghost?
Is it the walking ghost phase? Yeah.
Yeah, the walking ghost. I don't know if that's a real thing. I never looked it up.
I think it is, because that is a common thing about radiation poisoning, that you don't know that you're...
Yeah, they think they're fine.
Yeah.
And the hair starts to fall out and they're like, oh, bloody hell. Yeah.
Except in this, Ben, your hair doesn't fall out. You instead become a horrific green glowing skeleton man who lives in a cave.
Yeah. So this one has all kinds of things. And this is where I suppose Al Ewing starts to introduce us to Bruce Banner's difficult past, other things like this, because this is the story about, I suppose, not necessarily an abusive father, but an overbearing father. Mm-hmm. Someone begins to...
I didn't spot that parallel.
Yeah, no, there's a parallel. Like, it's... I think what I love about Al Ewing's work is there's a lot of seeds sown in the first couple of issues to try and really drive home the fact that, you know, there's a lot of dark things in Bruce Banner's past that people don't talk about. And the parallel here is he has a very overbearing father. The man starts to tinker around with Gamma. He starts to tinker around with Gamma. because he's obsessed with the concept of death and dying. He doesn't want to do it.
Thinks he's figured it out.
And he feels that gamma monsters are a great way to buck the curve and stay alive
It
forever.
essentially creates a healing factor,
Yeah.
which the Hulk famously has.
Which the Hulk famously has, and that's why he starts to tinker around with it. He injects himself, and there's no consequences
Initially.
And then he begins to experiment on his son.
Yeah, not great.
And his son is preyed upon by a supernatural force that's introduced by Al Ewing into the comics. And this is where we really see the shift from the Hulk traditionally being a very science creature. It's radiation, it's science gone wrong, etc. And now there's a much more supernatural element introduced.
Supernatural mysticism.
And we're given the one below all, and the green door.
Although at this stage, it just seems like it's the ramblings of a madman.
Yeah,
who's
possibly
been
just a nut job.
overdosed. He's
Yeah.
going, "Oh, the green door is opening. Get it away from me."
Yeah, and he's not a big fan. The son succumbs, dies, and then the father goes and hides himself up a mountain because he turns into a bloody phosphorus man.
Yeah,
He's a skeleton,
a radioactive skeleton.
skeleton. And the Hulk tracks him down, and it turns out that this real bad egg of a dude's been killing anybody who comes near the cave.
Yeah, to keep it secret.
Keep it a secret because he doesn't want people to find him. So the Hulk.
Well, he killed Banner.
He kills Banner, and that's the mistake because Banner says, "Don't touch me,
Don't get away from me.
Don't get away from me, you bloody bad egg." And pushes him
There's
down
a
on
skeleton
rock,
on me.
gets an L snap, and then the Hulk comes out
Yeah.
and says off and bashes him around a little bit, and then he plucks off the old arms and limbs.
I kind of thought he might have eaten them.
I think he might have
Yeah.
the old arms and limbs because Gamma's no problem for the Hulk.
No,
he eats Gamma.
he'll eat your legs off you as soon as he look at you.
And he buries him in the cave, Michael.
Alive.
At the base. Buries him alive for eternity because apparently he's not going to die because he has the healing factor.
Yeah, not
He just
good.
happens to emit radiation. It's horrific, Michael.
Very Edgar Allan Poe.
Very Edgar Allan Poe yet again.
Quote the Hulk, Ben.
Never.
I'll eat your legs.
I'll eat your legs. More. Yeah, and that's issue 2. And I think the implication at the end of issue 2 is that the other guy is still alive in the coffin.
Oh, he comes out.
Yeah,
the
that's what it
radiation
is.
team
Yeah, the
open and he
radiation
goes
team
like,
is like,
I'm alive, I'm a scary glowing skeleton man.
And I'm assuming he gets experimented on at some point or something by a Gamma team here or there.
Who bloody knows?
But anyway, that brings us on to issue 3, Michael.
Yeah, one of the best ones.
Issue 3 is a real kooky kind of...
I love issue 2, but issue 3 is good.
Issue 3 is a pretty strong issue. We start to flesh out the one above all.
Issue 2 is the one that, issue 2 is the one that got me though.
Yeah, you were hooked.
Issue 2 was great. I love that, fighting the skeleton man and putting them in the thing. I like a one and done villain as well.
There's nothing wrong with that. It's always nice to have a bow. Get a little bow, wrap it around, tie it up.
There's a little horrible skeleton man up in the cave.
What a dickbag.
What are you going to do? Eat his legs, bury him under rocks?
He's done. He's not getting out of there.
He's not getting out of there.
Not getting out of there.
He might.
Well, they might bring him back in another issue.
Yeah.
But I really don't want to see another series after this. I'm done with the Hulk after this. It's great. But anyway, issue 3 is a point of view issue, Michael, and we start to flesh out kind of the mythology of the one below all, the green door. What does it all mean?
But also, we see the Hulk from many people's different perspectives.
Which is very interesting, Michael.
And it's done the classic thing, Ben, of every story is told in a different art style.
And for once, Michael, I'm completely okay with it.
Yeah, you were fine with it.
Yeah, it's great.
We have a kind of 60s comics style.
Yeah, James Dean-esque. Oh, no, the original, sorry, yeah.
The Cop. The
So,
Cop
Silver
is
Age.
a superhero fan.
Yeah, he's a huge superhero fan. He even uses the classic nickname that...
Jade Giant.
Old J Jaws.
Old J Jaws,
was a big one that people had for a long time. And he thinks the Hulk is great.
Yeah, so he sees it as a Marvel comic from the Silver Age.
Yeah, and then we have the little old lady
Yeah.
who fell in love with the troubled young man who she thinks looks like James Dean. It's a really romantically illustrated thing.
Yeah.
Then we have the gas station attendant, not the gas station attendant.
Bartender?
Yeah, the bartender, and it's just real mopey. It's just like he looked like a serial killer. He was an asshole. And then we have the priest who's going through kind of a moral crisis.
Yeah,
and
he's got a grim and gritty
he's got a real grim and gritty Daredevil look. That's exactly what it is. I didn't think of it that way. It's Frank Miller, 1980s Daredevil, is what it is. And we get to see it from different perspectives, but they do now a callback to 2 Gamma villains that came out in the original Hulk kind of run.
Go on.
It was a couple. I think his name is Hotshot.
Finger guns.
Is it Hotshot?
I'd call him Finger Blast.
But he can, yeah, you would, and that's why we don't let you write comics, Michael. But he gives now a little pew pew from his fingers with gamma radiation. His girlfriend used to have laser vision, I think.
Oh, did she?
I think that's what she had.
But she's died.
I think that's how she writes on the wall before she dies. I think she gives it a blast with the eyeballs.
Good.
And it turns out her powers are out of control.
Yeah.
And it's because she's been infected by the one below all.
By the green door.
By the green door. She's seen the green door. And the green door is affecting all gamma users. and it's causing all kinds of shenanigans.
I love the art styles in this one, Ben.
Yeah, I thought you might be a fan of those. There's lots of clean art.
I love the depiction of the Hulk as this gross monster, but in the James Dean version by Marguerite something, in the James Dean version, he's supposed to be this gross monster, but he's still not. He's super handsome.
Still quite handsome.
Everything's all pastel and lovely, even the Hulk.
And he drools occasionally.
Yeah, look at him. Look at that big sexy bastard.
Big sexy bastard.
I love the sadness of the bartender story where Hulk doesn't even appear in it. Yeah. He's just like this bitter, angry man, and he doesn't listen.
Very well done.
Oh, it's very good.
Very well done. I think, in terms of fleshing out characters and stuff, it's great because we start to get a little dark glimpse at just how sinister this force might be as we go along. And then because we realise that Gamma people are being affected by the Green Door, we introduce some other Gamma characters. We do a little bit of retconning, Michael, here and there. A little bit of
Who, Finger Blast, you mean?
Not on Finger Blast. No, we're moving on then to issue 4,
oh, yeah.
Michael, where we're introduced to Walter Langowski.
Yeah, aka
Langowski.
Langowski.
Yeah.
Langowski, probably.
Who's the bloody Sasquatch?
Yeah,
with Alpha Flight. And it turns out that him and Bruce Banner were roommates at university, which I don't think was ever hinted at before.
And Bruce Banner's a real dick.
Bruce Banner's a real dick. He's a real petty guy.
Yeah.
Real petty guy. But that's been played around with before, Michael.
Especially in the Ultimates.
Yeah. And I think Walter Langowski kind of gave him a lot of passes. He was like, look, he had a bad childhood. And we, again, getting a few glimpses at something going wrong.
Yeah.
And Sasquatch is a big transformative person, again, but it turns out he got his powers through Gamma experimentation on himself.
One of my favourite things, Ben, is that the Gamma machine that he exposes him to, because in the comics, of course, Bruce Banner gets exposed to Gamma, and we see it in here.
Bloody boom boom.
In the bomb, and he jumps into the trench, but he gets too much. But in a lot of other adaptations, that's not how Bruce Banner gets the Gamma exposure. In the 70s TV show, he's on a machine, if you remember.
He's experimenting on himself.
Yeah, and in the beginning of the Ed Norton one,
he's experimenting on himself.
And they often show the machine, and in this comic, the machine that Langowski uses to make himself into the Sasquatch is nearly exactly identical to the machine that turns Robert Bruce Banner into the Hulk in the TV series.
I like that. I didn't notice that, Michael.
Yeah, if you look at the MCU one, the machine is almost exactly the same.
Great.
I can't bloody find the page, Ben, but
that's around there somewhere.
Trust me.
I trust you. And the listeners trust you as well. He's a very trustworthy guy, this Michael.
Sasquatch. Is that how you pronounce it?
Sasquatch.
He has a very convoluted backstory where sometimes he's a Native American beast.
Sometimes he's been possessed by a spirit of the wilderness.
A demon. Sometimes he's
Tenrak, I think is what it's called.
Tenrak. Sometimes he's a bloody... There it is there, look.
Look at it.
Sometimes he's a bloody Gamma monster. So he's very confusing.
Well, now he's a Gamma monster. But there's something wrong, Michael.
What's wrong?
His bestial side has been coming out a lot more, and Walter Langowski is supposed to be in control.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a monstrously evil version of himself coming out and expressing the thing. And we find out, Michael, as the issue goes on, that's because he's got a bloody passenger. He's got a bloody sneaky influence.
He's got the Green Door
creeping on through. The Green Door's come through, and someone's come through the Green Door and taken possession of the Gamma form. And it's bloody...
Well, he doesn't though, does he? Because he hasn't taken possession of him yet. I think the idea is he's been knocking on the door, but when Langowski gets killed...
That's it.
The two men in the bar inexplicably get angry at each other and have a fight.
I think that's because there's a general atmosphere of... Or the Gammas maybe.
I thought it might have been that Gamma that thing coming through the Green Door made them anger. Langowski gets killed, and that's when this Green Door spirit, who we're going to spoil towards the end, but not quite yet, is able to take possession of Sasquatch.
Hops on in.
Yeah.
So then we get to see our first kind of big Gamma Monster showdown, which is a Hulk staple. And Hulk kind of uses one of the powers that was established in the Ed McGuinness run on Hulk, which is that he eats Gamma. He can absorb it into himself.
And legs.
If you're a bad egg. Mm-hmm. And he sucks up all the Langowski ability, and Langowski can't turn into the Sasquatch anymore.
Yeah.
But it turns out, Michael...
What does it turn out that it is?
That in sticking a straw in and having an old slurp, he bloody takes in the interloper, the bloody pipe, the passenger.
Tell us who it is, Ben.
Terrible. It's his fucking dad.
It's his dad.
It's his abusive father, Michael.
It was his dad the whole time.
His dad the whole time. Now, and we're kind of left on that note.
Yeah.
In volume 1. to find out what's going to happen now. Bloody, he's inside Bruce Banner. A lot of this is very cleverly done by Joe Bennett in that we use reflections to see who's in, who's not, who's...
I was about to say, Ben, there's a lot of mirrors and reflections in this whole book.
It's all Jungian archetypes, Michael.
Here we go.
Each issue starts with an L quote.
Yep.
You didn't think you were going to get through a whole podcast without a Jungian archetype, did you? It's all about the shadow self, the mirror self, your perception. Look, there's more in this book when it comes to Jungian archetypes than we could possibly cover in the last few minutes.
Cover it in 4 minutes.
Anyway,
cover it in 4 minutes, Ben.
Jung had a concept of people being in peril with themselves, where they had their bad tendencies, their good impulses, these kind of things, and how those things were constantly in war. And he called it your shadow self. And if you don't reconcile with your shadow self, you're doomed, because you'll just tear yourself apart. Very Spark Notes, mega Spark Notes version there of all that, and hard to get into. But there are huge influences at work here, Michael, throughout, but like both in the artwork and in the storytelling itself. We already said Edgar Allan Poe, but I think, Michael, you'll find with things like The One Above All and things like that, very Hellraiser, very bloody Clive Barker, very bloody what's his name? Lovecraft. Lovecraft, I'll be on.
It's always Lovecraft, isn't it, with his bloody tentacles?
The One Below All is also a direct opposition to The One Above All, who's God in the Marvel Universe.
Yeah, kind of sometimes.
So it's and he seems to be bigger than Mephisto or any of the other big bads that have come out, because originally Bruce Banner checks. He says, who is it? Is it Mephisto? Is it Tanrak? Is it what's causing all this? Who's in there?
And I was like, it's me, son. It's Dad.
It's Dad.
And he goes off.
It's tits. Tits. And you see those influences so strongly. And the art is really body horror-y on occasion. Like, it's disgusting on occasion. I think one of my favorite things is the transformation isn't the where he just grows into a big green monster. You see his body kind of morph and gnarl and rip and tear into this new creature, and it looks to be quite painful when it happens.
Well, he's usually dead.
He's usually dead. But it looks to be quite painful when it usually happens. Really interesting to see that.
Although a couple of times there's almost a smash transformation. Like, someone kills Banner and then instantly it's the Hulk.
Yeah, and then
we don't see any transformation.
Yeah. Well, I mean, drawing that every time has got to be a pain.
But I still think that's an artistic choice, though, to go one panel, just a shot of Banner's face dead, and the next panel is the Hulk's face in exactly the same position with no transformation.
Hulk's rocking up.
And it's just like, you shouldn't have brought the Hulk out so soon, you dumbass.
Shouldn't have done that, son.
He'll eat your legs off you.
He'll have a little munch. A little munchy munch.
I'll show you the panel I'm talking about specifically.
Go on, you get there. There's bloody skeleton.
There's that. He's not a skeleton. He's just a glowy man.
He
kind of becomes a skeleton later. He shouldn't have killed Banner, though.
Bad move.
Yeah. See, look, he's just like very instantaneous there.
Yeah.
Just like
the hands kind of just go. Dum. I suppose it's to keep the tension in the story, and it's, as you said, Michael, an artistic choice to kind of keep pace. I think it's a really fascinating exploration of a character that, I suppose you have the Batman theory, Michael, where so many people have done so many things with the character, and it's hard to figure out where he lies.
Who is Batman?
Who is Batman?
Who is he?
I think you could almost argue the same thing with the Hulk.
I think you could, Ben.
The Hulk over years and years has just become, who even is the Hulk? Like, what even is his deal? And Al Jung is like, I'll tell you who the bloody
I'll show you who the Hulk is. He's this Hulk from the original 6 issues.
He's this bloody terrifying beast of a thing. Michael, I just enjoyed the crap out of this comic.
Yeah.
It's really our cup of tea, Michael. Oh, look, there he is now in the exact same position. Look at you, Michael. Do you know what you have, Michael?
What?
A wonderful visual memory.
No, I just read it this morning.
You know what you have, Michael? A great sense of timing. Yeah. But look, ladies and gentlemen, when you were reading this comic, what did you think of it? Do you enjoy all these influences? Have you been following it with fervour?
Were you a bit disappointed, as I was, that the reporter in the book, or kind of POV character in some sense,
Miss McGee,
Linda McGee, or whatever her name is, were you a bit disappointed that it turned out that she wanted to be a Hulk?
That was...
I mean, it was a twist, but it wasn't my favourite bit.
What I really enjoyed... Yeah. What I really enjoyed was how disgusted the Hulk was by that statement.
Yeah, he's like, ugh.
He sees her as such a weak person. I think, actually...
Jackie McGee.
Before we finish up, one of my favourite things about this is we've always heard the Hulk say puny humans and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
The Hulk seems to place himself morally above humans in this. He thinks he's better than human beings. And he thinks human beings are incredibly weak. One of the refrains that we have a lot is like, I can smell a liar. Mm-hmm. And you all lie. Like, that's a thing that he's so morally repulsed by humans that it's a really interesting concept. And yet he has his own morality because he doesn't kill the mugger who killed the little girl because she has a family. Now, he puts him in a wheelchair for the rest of his life.
If he even wakes up.
But he didn't kill him. And there is a moral code running there. But one of the things it's kind of a fascinating review of puny humans, where it's not like, I don't think you're weak. I hate you because you're weak. Like, it's a really intense new look at the character. I love it, Michael. I think it's an amazing comic book. Ladies and gentlemen, I did a little finish up there, but I'll come back to it now.
No, hold on. I was just going to say, what else should people read?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Sorry, we forgot to do
Ben, inside the first cover here, there's the classic Marvel. Want to know the best way to explore the Marvel universe? This guide will show you where to ignore that.
I honestly don't think you should touch any other Hulk comic if you enjoy this. This thing is great. It's a fantastic reboot. I haven't read much stuff that's similar to this in terms of a moral play. I mean, if you're into the retribution element of it, you can have some of your Wolverine runs, some of your things like that, Punishers where they come up and get them. But this is a different kind of thing. He really is a force of nature here.
It's its own beast.
It's his own beast. And I really, really enjoy it. Read some of the old horror things that we mentioned already. Edgar Allan Poe. Should get your blood pumping here and there. Sure, 'tis the spooky season, Michael. About time you got your Edgar Allan Poe out anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very well timed. We should get this for Halloween. What are we doing?
No, next week is Halloween. We'll have to do a Halloween thing. We'll have to do
next
a proper
time it'll be a Halloween
full-on horror comic.
Which means that the one that we picked to do is not going to be suitable anymore.
Screw that. We're going to scrap
so
that.
we'll announce that as soon as possible. Ladies and gentlemen, have you been reading the Immortal Hulk? What do you think? What did you get into? Which one is your favourite cover by bloody Alex Ross? Because they're all fucking great.
Is issue 2 the best one?
Is issue 2 the best one?
Yes, it is.
Have you read the whole thing? Will Marvel ever do a nice deluxe hardback edition of all these things put together? Or do I have to keep buying them in tiny, feckin' useless issues like this?
Ben, just a little shout out to the listeners. If you are going to be discussing this on the Insta or on the Reddit or on the Facebook, just remember that if you're going to go, because a lot of us have read the entirety of this, so just be careful of the spoilers of people who are just reading this part.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what I mean?
Just be slightly careful. Don't jump too far ahead if you've been following the series for a while. Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our 10th collecting issue. So
it might be 11th.
Are we gonna?
No, I think it might be 11th.
Is it 11th? I think it's our 10th.
Sure.
Well, it's our 10th or 11th, but we have a few now. So if you enjoyed this one, go listen to our other ones. And more importantly, give us now a follow on Spotify. Give us now a review on Apple Podcasts. Yeah. And like, share, and subscribe. We would love to boost us one a little bit more, and you'd be really helping us out if you gave us a bit of feedback.
We're going to bloody try and launch this now, really, aren't we?
Yeah, we're going to give this one a right push. So we may be a bit irritating on the various social medias soon.
Sorry about that.
Yeah. As always, if you have any recommendations, because sometimes we get wonderful recommendations.
Recommend a bloody horror comic.
Recommend us a bloody horror comic. That would be great. You can get in touch with us at showmorbeag.com. SEOMORABEAG.com.
It means tiny room in Irish.
The best way, and the one that we check most often, though, is probably our Instagram. So send us now DM. Chuck us now DM there.
Into our DMs.
Or just throw a comment down below under a post or under the YouTube video that you're currently watching.
Look, there's loads of options.
Loads of ways to do it. We're so accessible. Bye.